This podcast is brought to you by Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate, powered by Kangaroo Fern Media Lab. Kangaroo Fern is Australia's independent video and podcast management agency with a mission to help individuals and entrepreneurs to start their own podcasts and harness the power of podcasting. A Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate production. GMG, your guide to Australian dream. Learn how to make your Australian dreams come true with GMG Visa Solutions, your guide to Australian dream. This fortnightly podcast provides general advice about migration law and practice, whether it be for studying, working, visiting, migrating to Australia, petitioning for your visa refusal or cancellation, or obtaining Australian citizenship. GMG Visa Solutions got you covered. GMG, your guide to Australian dream.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of GMG Visa Solutions, your guide to Australian dream. This is your host, Jeroslyn Gligo Kowarskis, and this is brought to you by Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate and Auspod Syndicate, independent podcast networks for people worldwide. To learn more, please visit www.guerrillapodcast.com.ph and www.australiapodcastsyndicate.com. For today's episode, we will introduce to you subclass 417. This subclass is also known as Working Holiday Visa. This visa is for young adults who want an extended holiday in Australia and to work here to fund their stay. So for those people who like, follow, and share our Facebook page, GMG Visa Solutions, and also our podcast, thank you very much, and may you continue to support us. Also, thank you for those who have sent the inquiries. Rest assured we will reply to you and provide you with general advice. If you want comprehensive and specific advice tailored to your circumstances, please do not hesitate to contact us. Australian migration laws are constantly changing. The advice we provide on this podcast is current on the time that we made the recording. Because of how often migration law changes, the general information provided today may not be applicable tomorrow. That is why GMG Visa Solutions is here for you. So just a reminder as well, whatever we talked about on this podcast are only general information, not in any way specific, and this is due to everyone having different circumstances. So let's begin. On our last episode, we discussed about subclass 462, or most commonly known as Work and Holiday Visa. Today, we will be discussing subclass 417, or most commonly known as Working Holiday Visa. So please do not confuse these two with each other. Subclass 462, Work and Holiday Visa, and subclass 417, Working Holiday Visa, are two different visas. They may be similar in their name, but there are two different visas with different criteria. So Working Holiday Visa, subclass 417.
Your podcast journey starts here. Take the first step on your side. Hustle with us. It starts with a great domain. Get your podcast web host with Beard and Coffee at www.beardandcoffee.com.au or find us at Facebook.
Let's people aged 18 to 30 years old and Canadian, French, and Irish citizens aged 18 to 35 years old have an extended holiday in Australia and work here to fund their trip. The basic eligibility is that you must have a passport from an eligible country. This visa is temporary and its validity is up to 12 months. The visa application charge is 485 Australian dollars. The processing time for this visa is 30 days to 3 months for 75 to 90% of the applications. So with this visa, you can first do a short-term work in Australia. Second, study up to 4 months or 17 weeks. Third, you can travel to and from Australia as many times as you want within the 12 months visa validity. And the fourth one that you could do with this visa is do a 3 months specified subclass 417 work to be eligible for a second working holiday visa. So you may ask what are considered specified work for subclass 417. So the following industries and areas we will mention are approved for specified work for subclass 417. The first specified work is plant and animal cultivation in Northern Australia and other specified areas of regional Australia. The second one is fishing and pearling in Northern Australia only. Third one is tree farming and felling in Northern Australia. Fourth is tourism and hospitality in Northern Australia only. Fifth is construction in Northern Australia and other specified areas of regional Australia. The sixth one is the bushfire recovery work in declared bushfire-affected areas after 31st of July 2019. Lastly, the critical COVID-19 work in the healthcare and medical sectors anywhere in Australia after 31st of January 2020. Specified work is any type of work which must be the primary role, function, or activity performed during your employment. Supporting work in any industry described in the list I mentioned does not meet the definition of specified work. It is important that you meet at least 3 months of specified work to be eligible for a second working holiday visa and at least 6 months of specified work for a third working holiday visa. Visa application for your first working holiday visa must be offshore, meaning you as the applicant must be outside Australia. You cannot bring any family members with you on this visa as well. You must not have previously entered Australia on the same subclass or subclass 462 known as work and holiday visa. If you did, you will need to look at applying for either a second or third working holiday visa or any other visa options suitable to your circumstances. Also, health insurance is recommended but not mandatory. Having health insurance in Australia will assist you in paying unforeseen medical treatment that you may need while you are in Australia. If granted this visa,
So you want to start a podcast? Or perhaps you've already started one, but you're still unclear on how you can actually make this podcasting work. No worries. That's why we're here for you. We are Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate, powered by Kangaroo Fern Media Lab. Join our network. Contact us at info@kangaroofern.com because we're stronger together.
the Department of Home Affairs will digitally link your visa to your passport. You do not need a label or sticker in your passport to enter Australia. Please note that you cannot extend your first working holiday visa. If you wish to stay longer, you will need to take a look at another option like a second working holiday visa or a visitor visa or any other visa applicable to your situation. Unlike subclass 462, there is no annual visa limit per financial year for this subclass. Let's now go to the eligibility requirements. One of the main criteria for working holiday visa subclass 417, which is different from work and holiday visa subclass 462, is the list of eligible passports. For subclass 417, you can apply for this visa if you're a citizen of the following countries and hold a valid passport for these countries or jurisdictions. The countries are Belgium, Canada, Republic of Cyprus, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China, including British national overseas passport holders, Republic of Ireland, Italy, Japan, Republic of Korea, Malta, Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, Taiwan other than an official or diplomatic passport, and lastly, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. The second criteria is that if you're applying for this visa, you must be between 18 to 30 years old, except if you are a Canadian, French, or Irish citizen who can be at least 18 to 35 years old. If you apply for this visa when you're 30 years old and turn 31 before the decision is made, you can still be granted the visa. If you're a Canadian, French, or Irish citizen and you apply when you are 35 years old and turn 36 before a decision is made, then you can still be granted a visa as well. So the third eligibility criteria is that you must not have previously entered Australia on a work and holiday visa subclass 462 and working holiday visa subclass 417. Another criteria for working holiday visa subclass 417, which is different from work and holiday visa subclass 462, is that with subclass 417, you do not require the following. So I repeat, you do not require the following. Number 1, there is no level of education requirement needed. Number 2, there is no requirement for English language, which means that you do not have to have functional English. And number 3, there is no need to provide for a letter of support from your government. The next requirement for subclass 417 is that you must have enough money to support yourself while you are in Australia. The amount required is usually 5,000 Australian dollars for your initial stay. Other eligibility requirements are: you must meet character requirement, you must meet health requirement, you must sign the Australian value statement that confirms that you will respect the Australian way of life and obey Australian laws. You must not owe any money to Australian government. If in any case you have outstanding debts, then it must be paid off first prior to visa application. If you are onshore, you must not have had any visa cancellation or a previous visa application refusal. Let's now go to visa conditions for a working holiday visa. Visa conditions are like limitations or restrictions or rules applicable to a person who is a lawful non-citizen of Australia. If these visa conditions are attached to the visa grant notice, the person must abide with it, otherwise the visa may be cancelled. You must obey with the Australian laws. So what are some of the potential conditions that may be attached to subclass 417 visa? There are 13 potential conditions. First is condition 8106, which is a work limitation stating that you cannot work in Australia unless it is relevant to the business or task specified in your visa application. Condition 8107 is also a work limitation.
We are Independent Podcast Network. We are Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. Would you like to hear your brand while supporting quality podcasts? Contact us now at advertise@guerrillapodcastsyndicate.com.
Where it requires you to not stop working for your employer, not work in a different position, occupation, or another employer, not to stop doing the activity the visa was granted for or do other activities for yourself or someone else. And finally, this condition requires you to hold a license, registration, or membership if it's mandatory to perform the occupation for which you nominate. Condition 8301 requires you to meet any outstanding public interest criteria after you have entered Australia and before your visa ceases. Condition 8303 requires you to not be disruptive. Condition 8501 requires you to maintain an adequate health insurance. Condition 8502 requires you to not arrive in Australia before the person specified in this visa has entered Australia. Condition 8503 is a no further stay condition, meaning you must leave Australia before your visa expires. Condition 8516 states that you must continue to satisfy the criteria for the grant of the visa. Condition 8522 requires you to leave Australia with or before the primary visa holder. Condition 8525 states that you must leave Australia on the date or within the period specified in your visa grant letter or by the transport specified in your grant letter. Condition 8526 requires you to notify the Department of Home Affairs of your place of residence in Australia 7 days before your visa ceases. Condition 8547 requires you not to work for the same employer for more than 6 months. And lastly, Condition 8548 allows you to only study for a maximum of 4 months while you are in Australia. Again, these conditions are just potential conditions that may apply to you if you are granted a subclass 417. So that's it. These are the basic information that you need to know about subclass 417 working holiday visa. If you have any questions or if there's any visa that you want us to discuss on our podcast, please do not hesitate to contact us. We cannot stress enough that whatever we talked on this podcast are only general information and not in any way specific. The reason being is because everyone has different circumstances. It is best to contact us so we can guide and provide you with visa options suitable to your preferences and needs. We listen to you and deliver professional and flexible migration assistance catered for you. So you can hear this podcast on different podcast and media platforms, so please do not forget to like, follow, and share our Facebook page, GMG Visa Solutions, and our podcast as well. You can contact us directly through our Facebook page, email us at enquire@gmgvisasolutions.com.au, or visit our website www.gmgvisasolutions.com.au for more information. We pride ourselves with well-trained consultants who are equipped and qualified to provide you with migration services wherever you are in the world. With our comprehensive knowledge and expertise on various migration issues, we can simplify it for you. No more complicated processes, just a straightforward approach that saves you time, money, and effort. So until next time, keep dreaming, keep praying. Dreams do come true. Thank you for listening to GMG Visa Solutions, your guide to Australian Dream. See you and God bless.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to visit our website at www.GUERRILLAPodcastSyndicate.com, where you can subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, rate and review this podcast and share it with your friends. You can also join the conversation with Guerrilla We R on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please consider on making a donation to help us keep making the podcast you love. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.